It's now time for questions from the audience. Start right here.
My first question is Paul Norris. There's one thing you left out on your speech, and that was Sandman and Sandy. Why don't you tell the folks?
I did forget that. And as a matter of fact, I really had forgotten it until I read it in Ron Goulart's book. That's true. I did two issues where they first used long underwear. Before that, they were well dressed. I don't know. For some reason, that draws a blank.
Well, Whitney Ellsworth called you in the office, didn't he?
Yeah.
He explained to you that he wanted to take Craig Plesso's Sandman and change it because the character was somewhat getting out of date, and they were going into the trend at that particular time was the group superheroes like Batman, Robin, Captain America, Bucky. So Whitney came to you to decide to change the costume. A lot of people think it was Jack Kirby the one who did that, but it's not true. It was Paul Norris who changed.
Well, that's a good scenario. It's almost right. But,
you were there, I was.
Yeah, that happened pretty much that way. They want to change the costume, that's all. So, look, in those days, you worked for, well, I was lucky, or I shouldn't tell this, all these guys that made so much money, but I got $13 a page for Aquaman. That was because I lettered it as well as drawing. And you were happy to get those pages and get them under your belt because if you could make $100 a week, well, you were doing well back in those days. So, what went on at the time didn't make that much of a lasting impression because what I wanted to do was get to work, get home, get it done, and get it back. So, but that is pretty much what happened.
Now, let me point out that so many people have asked me about details of my work that they know a hell of a lot more of than I do. In those days, many times we would get a call from editors, more from the independents or smaller companies, and this would happen at BC, but even at BC or Marvel, this was back then it was Tiny Comics, Marvel. Sometimes I've gotten calls on a Friday and asked to produce a 48-page book by Tuesday morning. And call all your friends. I remember sessions I had. You remember the office? We had a warehouse on 31st Street, or a loft. Murphy shared some space with me at one time. And I can remember 5 or 6 artists starting out Friday night, turning in a 48-page book on Monday or Tuesday morning. And which of us remembers, we couldn't remember what features we were doing alone. That's what was happening. So that a lot of this memorabilia, or some of the reminiscences, people who read it had much more time to know what was going on in the stories than we were creating it. We had turned out so fast.
Another question from the audience, Gary?
Russ, some of my favorite covers were your GI comic covers. The ones with no word balloons, the ones that showed the anti-war statement. How much of that was your input? How much of that was the editor?
I think probably all the editors. I only created a couple stories, and because grammar's beyond me. I can maybe think of a plot, but I can't really write my sentences or Steve James, Chase Decker.
Specifically on the cover, so do you remember if there was a certain scene? I remember a lot of times when there would just be a GI with sand coming through his hands on the beach, and obviously nothing to clutter up the art. Just a beautiful picture.
I'm not sure if I understand the question. But basically, I guess you drew pretty much what you were asked to. Of course, you had the option of, if I didn't like the viewpoint that was described to me, I might do it another way. As I once said, I'm supposed to be
question?
There were dozens and dozens and dozens of publishers in the Golden Age, but the one thing that you all had in common is work for DC. Was there something about DC at that point in time that encouraged a career of longevity in comics, or was it just happenstance?
Is there a specific person you're going to direct?
Yeah, this is directed to the audience, to the analysts in general. Anyone have?
Well, I saw Dick Sprang, he was nodding his head that night.
Well, I don't know. I never worked for any other outfit except once before I joined DC. I worked for Price Comic and was well received. Just did one story or two. But I think the reason we like DC, the reason I like DC, was Whitney Ellsworth, Jack Schiff, and Mark Weisinger. These guys treated us like kings. Treated me like a king. And you know what? They let us make our own, they let me make my own decisions. What you drew. They didn't sit down and say, oh look, I want Batman, every line turned this way, and it always has to be facing this way, and all that malarkey like some of these guys do. And it was just a very cordial relationship, and it bred loyalty. Now, Whit asked me when I went to work and had proved myself for him, he said, Dick, I hope you will not do any work for any other publisher. I said, no, I won't. And it turned out I never wanted to, and never had since. No, these guys were great. The atmosphere up there, the way they treated me at least, was just superior. I owe it all to those boys.
Also, that question, I know Gil worked for a number of companies that stayed with DC.
Yeah, well, DC had kind of benign paternalism. Everybody wanted to be swept up in the arms of the great father who kept you on for years, and if they were satisfied with your work, they always had scripts, they always had, the checks were always ready. They used to pay, as a matter of fact, checks used to come up from the office downstairs every afternoon, which is incredible. They pay about once every 3 weeks, once every 2 weeks now. But in those days, working there was as close to a family situation as you could get. As a matter of fact, I know several instances where people on the staff had members of their family who were ill, were all too young to be ill. So Jack Leibowitz would arrange.
The president.
Yeah, right. He was the president of the company. He would, without a moment's hesitation, he would arrange to put them up at one of the best hospitals out there. As I say, there was a paternalism. The price was that you did as you were told. You were given assignments. Essentially, everything was done for you. There was a space left for your work, and you filled in those dots. But ultimately, inevitably, the longer you worked there, the more flexibility there was, the more they got to understand your strengths, what you could do, and began to assign features that were more suited to what you could do. So, generally speaking, I would say that that was one of the great, and of course the stability. They had the best money situation. They were the New York Times. They were like a banking institution, whose roots went down 15 generations or something. They owned newspapers, paper mills, all of these things in their heyday. And they threw phenomenal Christmas parties. So you really had a sense of going in and having lunch with the guys. It was always a pleasure to go in a couple of times a week. All of a sudden, there was a sense of your own professionalism and involvement, there were discussions, there were arguments. It was great while it lasted.
Thank you very much. Next question.
Mr. Schwartz, I enjoyed that Superman board that you put yourself into. Did you ever do that again?
Well, let me correct you first of all. I had nothing to do with that book. It was done behind my back. Let me tell you what happened. I was in the office with Murphy Anderson and Kurt Swan. For some strange reason, they all came in the same time. And at one point, Jeanette Carnes, the administrative assistant, came in and said, drop everything, come immediately into the conference room. And to walk, and I said, my God, are we going out of business? Has Marlowe finally taken us over? Get into the conference room, there was a table about almost the size, there were 3 or 4 bottles of champagne on the table. I said, boy, that's the real going away they're giving us. And we waited, so finally Jeanette Kahn, our president of the publisher, came in, smiling broadly, and she had a magazine flashed to the rest, and she announced that today was Julie's birthday, and we prepared a surprise for him. He knows nothing about this. If he's wondering why Fred Swan and Murray B. Anderson have not delivered the work that they're supposed to deliver, this is the reason. And she turned around a copy of Superman, and I was at my desk, and Superman was flying with a birthday cake to wish me a happy birthday. I thought it was a gag. I looked in, and there I am throughout the whole story. I co-starred with Superman and Batman. It was the work of Murphy and Fred Swan, and especially Elliot Magan, my writer, who taught Paul Levitz and Jeanette Kahn into doing it. But I had no prior knowledge of it. I'm very pleased with what happened, but I was mad because it happened in between a 3-part story. Part 1 of Luther had appeared, Part 2 was supposed to appear, and instead they got this birthday issue. I was very mad about that. Sitting in Holland, that would be about 1971. First time I had met Holland at his home. And he told me how much he loved magazines I was doing, and he wanted to do a Batman story for me. Would that be okay? I said, absolutely. I waited. Every time I spoke to Holland, nothing. This is at the San Diego Comic-Con, 1981. And I was invited to come down and receive an ink bottle award. They told me in advance because I was reluctant to go. My wife was ill and she didn't want to go. But they assured me that to present the ink bottle award would be my pal, good friend, Ray Bradbury. So I decided to go. So indeed, Ray Bradbury made the presentation, gave me the ink bottle award, and I started to walk off, and Ray said, no, wait a second, we have another surprise for you. Come on up. And Harlan Ellison, who had the spot, is sitting in the audience, bounded on stage, jubilant and happy, waving this in his hand, and he announced that 10 years ago, he had promised to write a Batman story for Julie Schwartz, and here it is. That is not the ending. I sat down and showed my wife, and this fellow, Jim Schuler, whatever his name was, sitting next to me. And Harlan sticked up behind me and said, Julie, I only had time to do the first page. It's not the end, not the end. And all those sheets of paper behind it were dummy, blank paper. At one point, Harlan came up to the office and said, no, I still haven't finished the story, but I'm going to do it. He said, Julie, whatever happened to those pages I gave, those blank pages? I said, I still haven't. He says, they're very expensive. Can I have them back? It's not the ending. Finally, in Detective Comics, I can't remember what issue, appeared a story, I can't remember the title anymore, and it was inscribed in print, with love to Julie after 15 years. So it took him 15 years to write that Batman story. So that is how Holland got involved. I don't think I lived that long.
Another question?
Back in those heydays, did you have any contact at all with the readers whatsoever?
Are you addressing that to me?
Any?
In the early days, if I may, I'll tell you another little story. You got a little time for Joe?
No.
Okay, I have the answer. My memoirs are appearing in print. They're appearing in Amazing Stories. It also deals with Harlan Ellison, among other people, many on the stage. They're appearing in Amazing Stories, and you can read so much. I've done 3 chapters so far, so you'll have to wait for that.
I think his question would be a good one if we refer to a number of folks. We said, do you remember any specific fan letters that you got that were...
Oh, I'm sorry, I never got into the fan letters. Oh, all right. I was going to tell us a long story. But I did get a fan letter. And I don't recall if it was told to me later. And this young fellow, who I think he said he was about 10 or 11 years of age, loved the comics I did, specifically Green Lantern. And he said when he grew up, he'd love to be a writer. And can you tell me what I will make of the words to that effect? I went over every word very carefully to spell correctly and so on. I did it. I probably would get an A report if I did it. And I wrote back a letter. And I said, yes, I encourage you to be a writer. I think when you grow up, you will make it. And that fellow's name was Harlan Ellison. So it is I